Hello, welcome back to Three Bridges. I'm Mark. This is my loft layout based on some of the rail journeys from my life, and I'm currently working on the lowest level, which is my sort of childhood, teenage years up to the early 20s. I planned for December to work on a number of bridges on the layout that needed to either finishing off or starting from afresh. It didn't happen, so a lot of things happened over November, December time, some good, some not so good. And so I basically stepped away from the loft for a number of weeks for personal reasons. Anyway, back, it's January. It's freezing cold up there, so I'm working downstairs, which is probably not so bad that I chose to work on bridges. Anyway, this is the first one. This is the end section of the Amersham footbridge. I'll show a picture of it up in the loft in place, but at least my bridge that goes nowhere can now descend to the ground. So I get a number of people asking me, mainly friends actually, of why I bother doing a YouTube channel for the model railway. So, and I suppose inspired by Denny, whose recent one, encouraging us all to post, as there has been a bit of a drought leading up to Christmas in videos, and encouraging people to share what they're doing in the builds and get feedback on it. So I don't get a lot of feedback on my layout, which is fine. I don't have a lot of subscribers, and that's not really the reason why I push the channel. As if you followed it for a long time, you'll know I don't ask you to subscribe. I just assume if people are interested, they will do. So for me, and here's a good example of why I wanted it to be a document of, I suppose, the history of the build and how I was sort of progressing, but it also gives me a chance to spot the things that I don't really see when I'm up here just looking around, because there's so much to take in. But when you film a section, the errors sort of stand out glaringly. So there at the end of the Amersham platform, I haven't put the platform end on. It's the platform that's goes to nowhere, that still needs an end cap and some rails sorting out. And on the last one I posted before Christmas, I noticed, which I just hadn't spotted for months and months and months, that obviously everywhere I join pieces of track together, I've taken out the sleepers so you can do the join, but I have forgotten to sort of push back a sleeper into position. So if you come back down to the far end where I've been working on the senics at the back, it's glaringly obvious when you stare through the camera that those sleepers ties are missing. So I'll trimming some down and I'll replace those as a short job to do whilst it's so cold up here. So the next bridge to finish off is the Wendover one. So this is where the public side cuts down to what was the cricket pitch where Jeremy Allerton's football match was when I was 8. So we'll see how we get on. So the Wendover Bridge end build. So very briefly, so this was the first bridge I ever made, and it was quite, I suppose, childlike in the construction of it with the grids. I'll show you some of that later. But for this one, I'll use the mesh that I used at the Amersham Bridge for the openings as it sort of passes down. So I've just drawn it up as a rough sketch. I'm not going to do a detailed drawing for this. It's literally something that you just look at in passing very vaguely. But that's be the basic structure. As you can see, so higher up I've got the grill sections in at the back. So these are the it's basically like a car repair mesh that you can buy, and it works quite well. And paint it blue. And then the lower sections, I do remember as a child there wasn't really much structure down here because you're not very high off the ground, so, and you could climb through them. So I will just need to create a support stand and put some of the boarding paper in to sort of simulate the steps. But that's another one nearly done. Next time you'll see it in the loft. Well, the cold weather is still continuing in the loft, so working downstairs. So this is the back scene section that I was working on back in October, and there's a gap. So effectively the back scene bit sort of sits about here. So there's a gap between it and the edge of the track. So I'm just going to use a cardboard base. This is a couple of reasons. It just allows me to work downstairs in the warmth, but also I got a static grass applicator from my wife for Christmas, so I want to have a few tries out with that in sort of this area here. So I put down some of the fine sort of ballast gravel I've got, which I make myself, and then I'm going to have a large pile of gravel, a little old building here that is almost like ruin, brick structure. You'll see it in a bit, and then I'm going to try out with some of the pale grass that you sort of see at the edge of the railway line in the sort of early autumn. So with these test strips, I'm just playing around with using some spray paint just to knock off some of the intense green on this back stretch. So with the pack came like a spring green. It's like the base, and it was just too bright really. It would be okay if you wanted to do like a lawn or a cricket pitch, but come late summer it just felt too sort of bright. So I've put on a very light coat of buff, and that's just knocked it back a bit, and then I'm just going to do a few brown patches. The yellow you can see is from the sort of full mill autumn mix I think I had, and obviously some of the glue still got to set. So you can see I'm just using the buff and the Tamiya brown. For the darker, nothing too complicated. So I just use some of the brown to darken up the ballast side of the track, and a bit of sort of darker shade to the deep grass. Still feels very experimental at this stage, but that's part of the reason why I'm doing these strips at the back, because you don't see them too closely. You sort of look at them from over a metre away. I'll probably see them more than you would see on the camera, but it's a good way to play around with things. So with the buff, it sort of felt like applying it all over was quite okay, but with the dark brown, it's very much less is more, just to create some colour change and depth. So I'll get these up in the loft and we'll see how they look, and I'll finish off on the bridge as well. Apologies, the lights were really great, but so for the posts, support posts, I've just used a gunmetal finish and a bit of a concrete base colour, and a few patches on the bridge as well to darken it up. So the last little structure is this little concrete building I've made. It's well, the window's gone and the door's gone as well. It's just going to sit at the side of the track side. As a child, I just remember seeing lots of these old buildings around, precast concrete, disused. And then if you're interested, so my spray brush is just a really cheap, I literally say to people, I paid £1 for this on Timo. Works perfectly for a novice. I just put some IPA in, flush it through and clean it with tissue, so I don't strip it down or anything. And when you actually watch a lot of the people who do a lot of the airbrushing, they don't clean them every time. I know others say that you have to strip them down, but you don't. So it works perfectly fine for me. Right, I'll just get a tiny bit of graffiti on here, and then I'm all done downstairs on this section. So it's very subtle. I've just got that little bit, these patch strips in before the bank and the gravel, and you don't, you view it from right back here. It might feel like a lot of work for not a lot of scene increase, but so with 3 sections is about 1 meter that I did. It's a thin strip, and if I'm honest, that brown edge where the raised up section that sits on top, that probably wants just softening in a bit as well, but the airbrush will do that another time. Okay, so unless you've watched, I don't know, somewhere in the first 10 episodes where I'll probably be building Wendover, you may not have seen this unless you've seen it in passing. So this was the first bridge I made, so it's the blue one at Wendover. It's still blue today, even though a lot of the Chiltern line structures are red, and it's sort of disused apart from the public side. They cross over to here. They don't now descend down because there is now the Wendover bypass goes along this stretch here, and then the bridge goes over that, but I don't know where it goes beyond that because they're now building HS2. So anyway, at least I've got my opportunity for steps down, and then this is going to be sort of the cricket pitch green, so get the static grass applicator up here for a bit. But yeah, nice to see that end there, maybe get some people on it. Still a few little bits to put in place and glue it and stuff like that, but nice to have the bridge almost completed. So you can see the difference there. That's the mesh I've used, which is probably more to scale. When I first built this, I built the mesh with thin strips of card, and you can basically put your head through it, or if not, climb through it if you're a small child. It wouldn't really meet health and safety, but it's sort of, for me, I don't mind because it's like the first bridge. It's a learning curve, and very much my, I'm 5 years old at this point, so I don't mind the fact that it looks almost childlike in its structure. Well, that's it for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch up next time with a much bigger bridge, and it'll just be one bridge being worked on. See you next week. Bye.